welcome all of His Glory Nation from east to west to north to south to our latest episode of His Story. It's all about His story and His glory. I want to introduce my co-host, Lisa Varga. Welcome to our latest episode of His Story.
This is exciting. We just keep having so many great stories, and we're getting so much feedback on everybody that's on the show. And I just love being here, and I love being a part of this. And I just thank everyone for joining us today on His Story. We have got a really interesting and exciting guest today. His name is Jamie Ridgeway, and he's an actor. And he's a martial arts professor, and we'll tell you what that means in a minute. But we're going to have a really great conversation with Jamie today. And without further ado, welcome, Jamie.
Hey, guys. How are you? Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jamie and I, we met on a movie set. So this was, oh my gosh, what was it, like 2014, I believe. It was a long time.
Yeah, 2014.
Yep, and it was in New York. It was called Hero of the Underworld. And that's how Jamie and I met, and we've stayed friends over the years. But he has got such a great story. And Jamie, I'll let you tell us a little bit. And the reason why I even got the movie first was from Chris Ashworth. And he's a good friend of yours. So let's talk about him a little bit, because we'll have to get him on the show too.
Oh, yeah. Chris and I are like brothers. I mean, the last 20 years, we've had a great friendship. And Chris is like the extrovert and I'm the introvert. So he's like my mouthpiece. And he's dragged me on many movie sets along with him. And it's been a great friendship.
Yeah, I will never forget. It was just like behind the scenes, and we were all hanging out ready, for the next scene to start. And you're incredible in martial arts, and we'll get into that later. But I had on video, I don't even know if I could find it, but you did some kind of in the air flying roundhouse kick, and came that close to Chris's head, and the two of you were just sparring and in the background. And it was like watching UFC, right on the movie set. But I don't know what you did, but it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I remember Tom was in between takes, and he comes out, starts yelling at us, "Guys, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
Yeah, we cut up on set a little bit, and probably gave Tom a couple gray hairs, but it was a fun time.
And Tom Malloy was the writer of the movie and producer. He's another great guy, and we really formed a neat bond with everyone there, and it was amazing to see how many other believers, I hadn't been on a movie set in a long time that had so many people that had faith. I mean, there was Chris, there was you, there were a few other, I think Josh, there were a few other people too, and Krista, and it was just such a neat project to work on. Yeah,
it was an outstanding time. Had a great time. Like I said, Chris is the one that kind of talked me into it and drug me up there, and I've been to a lot of his auditions and things that he was involved with, and he's always been a great friend to just kind of include me. And we, as a matter of fact, we were talking about training last night. He's been, out of town a little bit, so he's back in town and wanting to get back training again. So, it's been a great friendship. So
yeah, how did the two of you connect?
What's that?
How did the two of you connect?
Well, it's a funny story.
I'm sure it is.
I'll make it a quick one. I was dating my high school sweetheart, and we, like most high school sweetheart relationships, we broke up, and I was kind of down in the dumps, and I was going into the mall, and he was coming out with my high school sweetheart, and Chris, and we just kind of had a moment where we kind of glared at each other, and but then we started talking, and the funny thing is we're pretty much, we had the same interest. We're into acting. We're into martial arts. He's into baseball. At one time I wanted to be a professional baseball player. He did too. So before we knew it, we just had a lifelong bond. And it's been, that's probably been 27 years ago. And, we talk all the time. And in that kind of relationship, like I was telling you before, he's more of an extrovert, the actor, and I'm more on the martial arts side. And so he would, you learn from each other. I would be a little shy about getting into, some acting stuff, and he would nudge me in that direction and then kind of, talk to people for me then before I knew how to be doing it. And, those are the best kinds of friendships. So you just, you learn from each other, and you, especially when you have the same faith. So we've had a great time. So
yeah, it's that iron sharpens iron, which I love that verse.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and so when you guys, so developing this friendship, was he helping you with acting? Because I know he's got quite a few, different TV roles and stuff. And let's talk about the different roles that you have. Did he help you book these jobs? I mean, what background did you have in acting? I mean, you're a martial artist.
Well, I got into martial arts, because I was, wanted to be stronger. I wanted to be a stronger person. I was about 12. I was getting pushed around in school. I was shy. And, I had some stuff going on at home. It was, my parents were going through a divorce. It was a rough time. And I got into martial arts watching the movie Enter the Dragon, got hooked on Bruce Lee. And I wanted the power that I saw on the screen. And I was instantly wanted to become, get into martial arts, but not only that, maybe one day get into filmmaking. So that was it. That was it for me. And I just started training, getting every magazine I could get my hands on, training all the time. And the dojo became like a sanctuary for me. It helped me with a lot of the fear that I was having, going through, some of the things that were going on at home. And it helped kind of, help me face those fears in a lot of ways. So, but that was it. I mean, the martial arts and the movies were just kind of connected. And I would use the martial arts as a way to kind of get a role, and acting was never something that, felt natural to me. So Chris kind of helped me in that department, definitely a lot. So,
yeah.
And we just helped each other. I trained him over the years, and, we learned a lot from each other, for sure.
That's a great friendship. Tell me a little bit about some of the roles that you have had. Like, what were your bigger roles? And talk about the experience.
Well, one of my favorite roles is in Pilgrim's Progress. My favorite roles to ever get involved with are, faith-based roles. I love the faith films. And I'm an action junkie. I love the martial arts, obviously, and the stunts and all that stuff. So when there's a need for something like that, then I'll try to get in there and, and do it. And a lot of times, in the faith films, you just don't see a whole lot of that. So, that's definitely something that I was interested in. And Pilgrim's Progress was one that I got casted in, and spent 3 months choreographing the fight scene. And we did it with wooden weapons. And it's, a fight scene can seem like a short time on camera, but you're dealing with untrained people, and you're training them how to use a knife. And then when we went on set, we had live weapons, and, they're real weapons. So you're swinging knives at each other, swords at each other. So, it takes a lot of rehearsal and time. But, yeah, that was one of my favorite ones. I played a cop in a lot of these, films. Liberty has started producing some films where I'm at in Lynchburg, Virginia. And, a lot of times I'll be in small roles for that. So, well, trying to balance that with family and my business as well. So,
yeah. Now, you started a production company, too. Is that correct?
Yeah, a buddy of mine, we used to do mixed martial arts events, and we would travel the East Coast. We did 15 pro and amateur shows. We did a few of them in churches, actually, which is kind of funny. We would use the mixed martial arts event. We'd pop a cage on in the center stage in a church, sell tickets and raise money for a charity, and then give the gospel message. And, interesting place to do a fight. Definitely.
So wait, I got to back you up here. Is this during a church service, or is this just a separate event?
No, we would do it as a way to reach out to the community and, maybe raise money for, whatever, charity they may have. We worked with some of the ministries that they had. And then we would reach out to Christian athletes. We had, guests that were, had professions of faith, and they would give their testimony and things like that. We had the pastor preach or do a prayer time and then a small sermon at the end. But it was just interesting because, you shut the cage and there's two guys and they're fighting, so, and it's a sport, and it's a sport. And with sports, you have, personalities, and that's part of it. But, God calls us to be out in the world, and I wanted to give the athletes a place to compete where, it would be more on the light side of things, where you would have good influences instead of all the negativity that you see with combat sports sometimes. So
yeah, that's really deep. So
yeah.
It wasn't like either give your life to Jesus or else get in the cage, nothing like that.
No, not at all. But it's just a good way for people to come together and out there. And he helped me put the shows on.
Wow.
But we always talk films. I mean, 10 years went by. We're always talking films, how much we enjoy films. And the next thing you know, we were, hey, let's do this or let's do that. It really is right now just, kind of scratch that creative itch, on the side. And maybe it turns into something bigger. But we just got done with our first episode, short film. And looking forward to, we're in pre-production on the second episode now. So looking forward to see where that goes.
That's exciting. What's the film about?
Well, he is the brains and the story. So I'm like the facilitator. He would be better to answer that question. But, it's a sci-fi. It's a faith-based, but it's not overt as far as like, it didn't, right there in front of you. It's a pro-life story. In the future, and it's kind of, action and, technology and all those things you would see in a sci-fi movie, but just a good way to kind of make people think about things a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's definitely different for us, and we just see where it goes. So
yeah, you have to let us know when it comes out so we can share it and check it out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's talk about your faith. I know you have a very interesting background, and your family does too. So we'll kind of go back and take us back to the younger Jamie years.
Okay. My dad was a pastor, a church planter. He went to school in Virginia for seminary, and he got saved in a tent meeting in 1970 or 71. I think it was 71. And then dedicated his life to Christ, and really changed him, obviously. But he was on the alcohol, drugs, and going down that route. And then God got a hold of his heart and turned it into a ministry. But I grew up in the church, and we were bouncing from town to town. And the thing about being in a church planting family is that you just never really settled. You don't really meet a whole lot of people. You spend a couple of years there, and then you kind of go to a new place, start a new church. Yeah. And so what happened was, being 10, 11, 12 years old, just being a shy kid and, generally quiet and introverted in some ways. And I knew that. And, I went from a private school to a public school. And then around about that time, my parents went through a pretty bad divorce. And, being a Baptist minister, you're really commanded to be the husband of one wife. And so my dad pretty much lost his ministry overnight, as well as, his family. So I actually ended up moving in with family friends at 12, and they did Taekwondo. And when I say it was a rough time, it was kind of a rough time. I definitely know, the devil had gone in there with our family and kind of torn our family apart, and really dissolved the ministry at the same time. But the Lord was faithful to me. He gave me, I feel like he gave me the martial arts to kind of deal with all of that. Because, living in someone else's house as a kid, you don't know what's going on with your family. My mom and my siblings, my sister works with me now. She pretty much runs my whole business. But but my mom and my siblings were gone. I didn't see them for a couple of years. And I really didn't know, where they were. And my dad was in a mental institution at that point. So, I was going in and out of, different homes, but I was in this one home for about a year and a half. And that's how I got into martial arts. And it gave me the strength and the structure that I needed. And I really feel like God gave that to me to just avoid a lot of the, anxiety, depression, all the things that go along with, a broken home like that. So, And at 18, I pretty much moved out on my own. And then my brother, who was 14, came and lived with me. He was either going to end up in foster care or I was going to take him in. And I took a roofing job, and then I took, a janitor job just to get by. And I've been doing martial arts the whole time. And I really just decided, hey, why don't you just do the martial arts and help people with it? And that's what, Renaissance Academy came out of. So,
that's quite a story. And, I know you and I know your backstory. So it's coming together now and making sense how God, put all of these things in your life and why. Let's talk about Renaissance Academy. There's so much to explain and talk about. First of all, I want to know, you're given the title and it's a martial arts professor. First, tell us what that is.
Professor is a third-degree black belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's kind of the title they give you. I go by coach. I feel more comfortable with that. I just studied a lot of different martial arts over the years, and professors typically around 25 years. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that's one art. And then, I've studied a lot of other ones too, but we just combine them in what we call a total defense program. So
you're the real deal. I want people to know, how many degree black belts is that, or how many years? So I guess I know that I'm probably not explaining this right, and I want people to understand, at what level you're at. And I know you're humble and you don't like to talk about yourself, but we need to know. So what does that mean? Because I never even knew what professor meant. So, and I know there's different degrees of black belt. So explain that a little bit more to people who aren't really, who don't know a lot about the levels.
Yeah, I'm not uncomfortable talking about myself at all. That's not a problem. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know you're kidding.
No, professor is just, it's kind of cool because it is really high level as far as, jiu-jitsu is concerned. To me, I never really chased the belt. I just got addicted to training because it just helped me in so many things. But I tell people when they ask me, well, you're a professor, and they think I'm just like, I'm old. That's what it means. I've just been doing it for a long time.
You've been doing it for a very long time.
Yeah, I've just been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
It's like anything, whether it be academics or it be, whatever it may be, gymnastics. It's just when you do it for a certain amount of time, you get a certain level of expertise, experience. And I still got a lot to learn. I've got students now that are, that I trained from day one, and now they're just all over me. They're professional athletes. They're competing. And they beat me every day, and they remind me that I'm in my 40s. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I like the approach that Bruce Lee used of any technique that works, discard what doesn't work, and add your own creativity or your own expression. That's the philosophy that I carry into our academy. Does it work? You can be a high-level expert in something, and in the martial arts, but it not be an effective martial art. So I'm really caught up in the truth of the situation. So we put everything into testing. And how do you do that? Well, it's a lot of time on the mat. It's a lot of sparring. It's a lot of wrestling. It's a lot of, does this technique work under pressure? If it doesn't work under pressure, it's out of our curriculum. So it can come from different martial arts. So, yeah.
That's
he was
great.
unique.
What'd you say?
Well, Bruce Lee, he was a unique guy. He just, that's the one thing I like about, what he brought to, not only that, just being the icon that he was, but the philosophy of using any technique that works. So,
yeah, this is exciting. What we're going to do, we're going to take a little break.
Okay.
But when we come back, what we're going to talk about is more of Renaissance Academy, what you do there. And I know we talked about this before, but just your upbringing, you had mentioned when you were younger, you were bullied. And a lot of kids today have to deal with bullying. And I think you had some really neat stories about some of the students in the class and what it did, not only for your life, but for someone who's taking these classes in martial arts. So we'll get back to that. And then also we're going to segue into how foster care became a part of your life. So we have some really great stuff coming up. We are going to take a quick commercial break right now, but we will be back with Jamie Ridgeway. And stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Come back.
Coffee by His Glory, providing you with the best tasting coffee on the planet.
His Glory followers, thanks for your support and your love for Jesus Christ. Go to hisglory.me and click under merchandise and start shopping now. Shop for men's, women's, and kids' apparel, plus backpacks, hats, and so much more. We have styles for everyone. It's that easy. Check in daily for our newest arrivals. Get your glory gear today. Visit hisglory.me. His Glory app lets you connect with just one click from live TV, Bible studies, and shopping. It's great on the go for listening to interviews and catching up on the latest news. Hurry and download the His Glory app today and stay connected. His Glory app available now for iPhone, Android, Roku, and Apple TV.
Welcome back to His Story. I'm Lisa Varga with my co-host, Pastor David Scarlett, and we are continuing our conversation with Jamie Ridgeway. Welcome back, Jamie.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
Yeah. So we left off. We're going to start to talk more about Renaissance Martial Arts Academy. And you tell us how you started this.
Well, real quick story. Chris and I, in 2000, were trying to figure out where we were going to go to L.A. He wanted to move out to L.A. to pursue his acting career. And I had been in prayer. I had rededicated my life to Christ. And I was conflicted. He's like, man, we're going. He sold his 1969 Camaro to finance his trip out to L.A. And we were going to, get an apartment together and all that stuff and pursue acting. And I felt a real calling to stay here and open a school. And, I had to tell him, man, I'm not going. I'm going to stay here. I feel like God wants me here to open the academy. And, and I told him, I said, if God wants me to act in films, then he'll provide a way for it to happen. And, but he wants me right here. And I feel, and I told him, I feel like God's calling you to go out there. And, the first few years, this is 2000. So a lot of people didn't know jiu-jitsu. They didn't know what it was. I had a karate black belt as well. And, all of our advertising was karate and, just to kind of get our business going. But the more the public started to understand the effectiveness of jiu-jitsu and how it worked, then we started to actually grow. But that was the beginning of it, was just, letting God make my choices. At that time, I was competing in the late 90s in Thai boxing, and I was serving myself. I was selfish. And when I rededicated my life to Christ, I kind of put the competition aside and just asked God what he wanted me to do. And, the martial arts had helped me in my life so much. I was like, I felt like he was calling me to kind of use that to help other people. Mm-hmm. And that was really just listening and just prayer, just feeling that nudge. And I didn't know I'd be able to make a living doing it. And, my mother-in-law didn't think I'd be able to make a living doing it either. But, God, but God was faithful. And, now we're in our 20th year. We opened in 2001 and it's been a blessing. So.
Wow. Yeah. If you heard from the Lord, he's going to make it work for you. So that's great faith right there. Now, where are you located?
We're in Central Virginia. We are in Lynchburg, Virginia. A lot of people don't know Lynchburg. Well, they do know it for Liberty University. Liberty University is here. A fantastic school. They have a great film program, which have been a lot of their, student films and faith-based films that they've been producing. So, yeah.
Very cool. We have some promo videos of what you do there at the Martial Arts Academy. And I want people to see just a little bit of a background, because I think they're really great. It explains more of what you're doing there. So we're going to watch these videos for just a minute, and then we're going to come back. So check these out.
Renaissance means rebirth, an opportunity to create your own path in life. It can be scary to do martial arts. It is a self-defense art. I personally believe everybody should learn, something to protect themselves. It's not that you would go looking for trouble, but sometimes it may come looking for you. My heart as an instructor, as a martial artist, is to empower the weak, to help people. Some of the things that I went through as a kid, I want to help people be able to combat that and face their fears like the martial arts helped me face my fears. We blend different martial arts, Muay Thai, boxing, Kali, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, all completed into a total defense program. If I didn't have the martial arts, I have no idea what path my life would have gone into. At RAM, at Renaissance Academy, it's going to be a safe, friendly environment where you're going to have coaches that are going to guide you in a way that's going to be uplifting and give you the ability to protect yourself. My goal as a martial arts instructor is create an environment of friendliness, camaraderie, a place where you can ask questions and learn and develop friendships, but also a culture within the school where iron sharpens iron and people care about each other.
I feel like I have, 100 brothers and sisters here. RAM is a family, flat out, plain and simple. If you're a student here, you're part of the family.
Being a shy kid, I got picked on a lot. I really feel like God gave me the martial arts to help empower me in a lot of ways and change my life. After I stopped competing, I wanted to change lives the way that the martial arts had changed me. Mid to late 90s, none of these martial arts were here. So me and a couple of other guys, we were traveling out of town and we were learning these martial arts and bringing it back to Lynchburg. We were kind of the pioneers of the mixed martial arts in Central Virginia.
I'm Mcallister. I'm a third-degree total defense kickboxer and a brown belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And I've never found anywhere that pushed me harder or that taught me better than I have learned here with the coaches at Team RAM.
The big things that I've seen with the benefits for my kids are the tenets of the black belt: modesty, courtesy, perseverance, self-control. My children exude that every day now.
People like to be here. People love to be here, in fact. That's what I hear a lot. We support each other, we make each other better, and they're learning things that could save their life. But at the same time, we have fun doing it. It's just a great environment to be in.
I knew it's something that I needed. I needed guidance, something I lacked growing up without a father.
All I do as a coach is I kind of guide that process. So very blessed in the staff that we have here. We have a very highly trained staff, but also a very friendly and positive group of people.
Coach Jamie has said many times he doesn't want to teach well-trained bullies. He wants people that are valuable, well-rounded human beings in every sense of the word. People that care about others, people that try to make the world a better place, that try to help those around them.
It's been a great experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I never wanted to be a fighter, but I just wanted to be a better person.
I enjoy being here, especially with individuals who are teenagers and in their 20s and 30s. I am 60 years old, but I thoroughly enjoy myself, and it's just a wonderful part of life, just being here and being a part of it.
I like that within 2 months, everyone seemed like family or friends. I come in and there's a sense of wanting to grow in martial arts. It's a pretty cool feeling.
My name's Robert Chermarkey. I'm 41 years old. I started February of this year, 2015, with the motivation of trying to get in shape at 280 pounds beginning of the year. I'm now down to 230. And I can attribute that to Jamie and Julie and the staff at RAM.
Like, I don't come in and I don't feel like I'm measured against anybody. It is physically challenging and mentally challenging. I believe in order to grow, you have to mentally and physically challenge yourself every day. And it's an opportunity to do that. Couldn't ask for anything more.
Wow, that's so amazing what you do there. I love it. Tell everybody a little bit more about what are all the different martial arts that you teach or that you do?
Well, I got into, like, in the 80s, everybody was hooked on karate, and I love the Karate Kid, and I grew up with the movies with, Enter the Dragon. Bruce Lee was the one that hooked me. But, obviously the Karate Kid and Bloodsport and Van Damme and Seagal and all those, heroes that we grew up, kind of emulating. And I got into karate and I did that. And I was teaching karate in the late 80s, early 90s. But I was just a kid. I was 15, 16, 17 years old. And then I got into boxing and boxed for a couple of years because, remember, Bruce Lee was my influence and he did anything that worked. So I knew, okay, boxing. There was no Bruce Lee, Jeet Kune Do around here where I'm at. So I found a boxing coach. I spent a couple of years doing that. And that led me to a couple of friends of mine that I met, and they were doing Thai boxing. And so Thai boxing is, elbows and knee strikes and all those things. And I was like, well, I got my hands and my feet. I need to, So it just kind of progressed to these other arts. So I spent a number of years doing Thai boxing. And then, of course, the UFC 1 happened. And the world was introduced to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And I remember watching it and being pretty much upset that all the strikers were getting taken down and choked out. And I didn't know what was happening. Why are they tapping? And I was just getting upset. So by the second one, I was wanting to learn jiu-jitsu, but there was no jiu-jitsu academy around here. But I'm mildly claustrophobic. So I have problems riding roller coasters. They can't lock me in, or I'll try to bend still and get out, And jiu-jitsu is like people holding you down and all that stuff. So I really struggle with it and still struggle with it. My teacher yelled at me all the time using strength. And it's a lot of the fear that I'm dealing with. But the more that I did jiu-jitsu, the better that got. But I got introduced to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from going down to Virginia Beach, and there was a school down there, and it's called Links Academy of Martial Arts. And I started training with my teacher in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Master Pedro Sauer. And that started in 95. And then I just, when we opened Renaissance Academy, we just combined all those effective martial arts. And so why don't I just teach the public all of these different things that I've learned? So.
Yeah. Now so Pastor David obviously is former military. He was a Marine. And what's our military using? Because I know that they study a lot of martial arts too in their training.
Yeah. Well, one thing about the military is they want the most effective thing. And when the UFC came about, obviously jiu-jitsu was proving itself in combat one-on-one to be very effective. So McMat's what a lot of the military are doing, and it's grappling, it's Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and super effective. That's one good thing about it. It's really, really effective. Anybody can learn it. Simple. That's what makes it so good. But yeah, definitely military is doing the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, so they do the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then they do Krav Maga. Anything else?
The Israeli military, that's their art. Now, Krav Maga means close combat. It's a very effective martial art. It's a blend of different martial arts as well. The founder of Krav Maga and Bruce Lee were about the same era. And Bruce Lee's goal was to make civilians safe. So he blended martial arts and used the most effective martial arts. And the founder of Krav Maga, his goal was to make the military safe and make them effective. So he blended martial arts. So they're both pretty much the same philosophy, and they complement each other really, really well. We definitely use a lot of the Krav Maga here at the Academy.
Cool. Pastor David, are you doing any martial arts, or have you done any?
No, I want to get back into it, though. I did, obviously, being a Marine, but I want to get back. I'm inspired to get back.
Yeah, Krav Maga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, can't go wrong.
That's what I want to do.
Tell us some stories about Renaissance Academy. And you and I had talked about this before, but you have some really neat stories of, some of your students there, like going through struggles in life and things where martial arts has helped them. Because, a lot of people think, oh, it's martial arts, it's fighting, and it's not violence at all, what you teach. Tell us what you teach and how people can apply that, and your students can apply that or have applied that to their lives.
Well, at the academy, the leadership of the academy is very important in any school when you go to train. And one thing, my heart has always been to empower the weak, to help people like myself. I really came through, kind of in a borderline abuse situation as a kid. And like I said, it helped me in so many different ways. So my heart is when I see people that are been abused, or, we've had people that have PTSD. They're just having trouble functioning. They're dealing with trauma, basically. And I know something that helps with that, and martial arts definitely helped me with it. So all I do is my own experience. I can usually spot those people pretty quick. The martial arts to me is about restraining evil. It's not about beating people up. It's not about being a tough guy. It's not about any of that. It's about testing yourself, empowering the weak, and restraining evil, to me. And if I can give people tools to look someone in the eye and have confidence, then I feel like that's God's calling for my life. And that's the best thing. And we've had thousands of people come through over the last 20 years. I can't believe it's been that long, to be quite honest with you. When I think 10 years ago, I think 95. I don't think 2010. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it happens fast.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, there are literally thousands of people that have come through and they've seen some kind of a life improvement, definitely. Even if it's just getting in shape, and just personal health. That's important for everyone. So
this is truly your ministry. God has put you there and designed this, really. It's people get exercise, they learn how to do martial arts. It's a bonding experience. But like what you were just saying, it's like you're there to help people. And how incredible to have your passions and something that you're good at and have that as your ministry, and God just keep bringing all these students to you who need you. Are there any stories that really tugged at your heartstrings that you can share about maybe something that, or someone that came into your?
Yeah, just there are a few. I'm always cautious to give out details and stuff like that. The one kid in particular was being bullied to the point where he was getting harassed. That's actually what happened to me for a couple years. When I went from one school to another school, and ended up watching the movie Enter the Dragon. And that's what led me on my martial arts journey. His mom basically brought him in, and he wouldn't even look up at me in the eye. So, to a point where it completely transformed his life. I've got another student now who, he recently has, some things that happened in his personal life as well. But for the last 8 years, he's been dealing with anxiety. And, when the pandemic hit, there was, a lot of anxiety. Obviously, it got worse. So, we were doing Zoom lessons, just to keep him, and I felt that anxiety myself. I know what that feels like. So there's, literally hundreds of people that I could think of that over the years have come through and have had stories like that. I had a lady whose husband actually abused her and was in an abuse situation. And, she came in to take classes just so she could have confidence again and be able to, protect herself and things like that. One girl was almost kidnapped through the internet. And her mom brought her in to train her. But there was a conversation that was going on through the internet, through Messenger, meet me here, things like that. So, obviously when parents have those kinds of situations, a lot of times they'll end up in martial arts classes. There's actually one kid right now, and I didn't fail to mention this, but my sister, like I said, she runs everything here. Just about. She's the brains of the operation. All right. So, but she runs my Little Dragons class, and that's the 4 to 6 year old class. And just this week, we had a parent come in, and the child had been in a situation where the child's adopted, and coming through, understanding foster care and some of the things you may see. He just curled up in a ball and wouldn't even, come out on the mat. We eventually got him out on the mat. He's just, he's thriving in the martial arts environment because there's structure, and we're working with them, and it definitely does help everybody. So
I love martial arts. I studied judo myself, and my nephew does. I have other friends and family who have, and it's therapeutic, and it's all mental. It's mind over matter, and it is giving you that confidence. It was never about like, hey, I'm going to go beat somebody up and take martial arts and use it. If anything, martial arts is the opposite. It's like, don't use it unless you absolutely have to. But what it does do is, just like these stories you're sharing, is just that confidence builder, and it be in that environment, and it's safe, where you feel other people. So I think anyone out there struggling, especially like these young kids, things, that bullying and who knows what's happening in school or their neighborhoods. If some parents are out there wondering, like, what could I do for my child that has anxiety? I mean, I think this is a great solution. Yeah. At least just give it a try and see if they like it. Yeah. I think what you're doing there.
Appreciate that. It is my students all the time, my adult students, that it's like church where you get to choke each other unconsciously, you get to choke or punch each other. So, and you learn a lot about yourself. You will learn a lot about yourself on the mat every day, and you work on those pieces.
Yeah. So, let's go back into your life and your testimony. I know you have quite a story, and you've had struggles in your life. What's that moment where God just turned your life around? The His story moment. Share that with us.
Well, there's been many over the years because, you get full of yourself and you forget that the Lord put you where you are and gave you what you have. And, when my dad and my parents, divorced, I left the church pretty much. When I went out on my own, 17, I stopped going to church and, got, out into the world and was trying to navigate things myself. So I spent several years, I was still training and I was working hard and I was just working. And, in my mind, God gave me the martial arts as a ministry, but I didn't have that understanding yet. In my mind, I wanted to be the best in the world. And I wanted to be on the level of, Chuck Norris or Bruce Lee, I wanted to do that. But the problem was my pride. Well, it was my God. The martial arts at that time had turned from something God gave me to help me become a better person, to help me navigate through anxiety and depression, to now I turned it into God. And in 99, I was competing locally, and I competed, quite a bit, in, karate tournaments, Thai boxing, things like that. And I remember it was December 99, and I was fighting a guy from New York. And he was, New York was the best Thai camps out there. The best Thai fighters in the United States came out of that area. And I just thought I could beat anybody. And I had, at that point I had lost the fight. So I went in there and it was a hard fight. In my mind, I'm just going to hit you till you fall down. And, it didn't happen. He actually stuck his tongue out at me one time in the fight. Yeah. Well, and I kicked him back, but it was, it was valuable. But it was a split decision and I lost. And that was, kind of devastating to me. I had lost a fight from all my friends and everybody that I knew. So, and then, you know, I had a series of, you know, losing the job and, you know, a lot of things that were going bad. And I had just come to the end of myself. And I had realized that at this point God was nudging me in my heart. And he was saying, every time you try to do things on your own, you destroy it. The harder you work, the more you know, you're going in the wrong direction. And this is not the path that I have for you. And I would just try to ignore it. But then I just realized that if I try to do it myself, I'm going to mess it up every time. So I remember driving down the road and pretty much, you know, my beat up car, you know, no job, you know, and I'm 25 at the time. And I was like, you know, I didn't have an education like I should have had. Well, I felt like I should have had. It was just because of the background. And I didn't know where I was going with my life. And I remember telling God, I was like, all right, God, you know, whatever you have for me, then I'll let you pick it out. I'm not going to try to manipulate it. You choose my path. I mess it up every time. And the thought came across my head, he's going to take the martial arts from me. And it was really the only thing that I had that I was good at with my hands. And I was thinking to myself, I'm going to be on a mission field somewhere and I don't know what I'm going to be doing, you know, and I really don't want to do that. I don't know what I want to do. I definitely don't want to do that yet. I just didn't know what I wanted. And nothing against that. I mean, that's a higher calling for sure. But yeah, I mean, and I remember submitting to him and then going back to church and getting back to church and rededicating my life. And it may have been a point right there where I was converted. I was saved under my dad when I was 7. I made the profession of faith and I did the church itis, you know, you show up, you do your, you know, kind of walk the talk, you're the preacher's kid. And then away from God I went. And then, you know, I came back and that might have been, you know, I always thought I was saved under my dad at 7, but, you know, 25 is when I really laid it down. And within 6 months, I had a school. I was teaching people. You know, I had a business. It was starting to, you know, take off. And, you know, I had a future, you know. I met my wife and you know, then I bought my partner out. And then 20 years later, I'm doing this for a living. I pinch myself because it's not work. I wake up every day. I put on pajamas. I teach people how to protect themselves, you know. We beat each other up. I go home, you know. And it's fun. So, you know, it's amazing what God did with my life, because I know that if I'd have been trying to drive it, I would have tried to pursue fame. I would have tried to pursue fortune. I would have tried to pursue all those things that I thought would make me happy, and it wouldn't have made me happy. So,
amen.
That's it. That's it.
No, I love that. I mean, and you're always so humble, and you have a powerful story, and just the way that you're touching other lives and helping other people. But even going further than that, you have a beautiful family. I mean, your wife is amazing, and your daughter is so adorable. And she's in your class. She's a tough little girl. I've seen her, you know, posted some things, and she's in there, you know, with the best. She's of them. Fighter. Yeah, she is. But let's talk about, you have a foster child. Yeah. Tell us about that story. And the other day when we were talking, you just kind of mentioned, you know, the bigger picture of God, just how amazing he is. Yeah. And he knew who was needed in your life and vice versa. So I think this is such a great story for anybody that has foster children or considering foster care. You know, let's share your story, because I think it's beautiful.
Well, that really is my wife. She has always had a heart for it. If you ask her, I'm the oldest of 4, and I was always the protector, and I'm always the one that will prophesy the possible problems we might have. So I'm looking for that what could happen scenario. But she's always had a heart for, you know, fostering. But I was tentative. I came from that, was in living with other people. So I understand how foster kids feel when they're pulled from their home and they're in a strange environment. You know, there was one time when I was a kid, I didn't even want to open the refrigerator. It wasn't my refrigerator, my food. It wasn't my home, you know. Didn't feel right, you know, and they were there taking care of me, but no matter how good they took care of me, it still wasn't my family. So I know how that feels. And I had a heart for it as well, but I was always very cautious. We're not ready financially, these things, and that kind of thing. But about 5 years ago, you know, we really just, we moved into a little bigger home. We have room for them now. We have no excuse. You know, you can't make up an excuse now. So we stepped out in faith, and, you know, God's sent a lot of kids through our home. But about 2 years ago, you know, we had a foster care situation where we had a little girl, and we just felt like she was one that was going up for adoption. We wanted to adopt her. And then we had a little boy, same scenario. And we adopted him this past October.
Yay.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. Congratulations. And what blessed little children.
Yes. And they teach you a lot about yourself. But at 46, I didn't think I'd be changing diapers again. But I got a little monster at home. He is running circles. So I was telling my wife, I was like, you know, this kid, sweet as he can be, he's going to need a lot of jujitsu. So,
well, and God knew that too, because you know the jujitsu and the martial arts. I mean, for somebody who's been through the trauma that he has been through, that will be so helpful to him. And here you are, his father, to be able to teach him that. You know, you see what God did along the way in your life, just prepared you for this time where you would have these two children who needed special love like no other. That only special people can give them. I think foster care is just, it's so tough, but it's so beautiful in what you can do for the lives of these children who have been in horrible situations, some of them. So to be able to provide that for them is incredible.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot at this academy. The academy has a lot of people they're fostering here, as well as we have a good, strong homeschool community, faith-based community, but as well as, you know, there's people coming in from all walks of life. But fostering is, you got to go in with a steel spine for sure, and be ready and be, you know, and like I said, it's my wife. That was her. She's the one that gives the structure. I'm kind of the one that comes in and just kind of, you know, plays with everybody, you know, bring them to the school. Yeah. One cool thing about the school is I bring them here, and they would take class and stuff like that. So, you know, they have a blast here. So.
Oh, I bet. Now, did you take classes too, or?
We met in Thai boxing class. Yeah.
Love at first punch.
Well, I was starting my school, and it was inside of a Gold's Gym. I was renting time inside the Gold's Gym, and she was working at the front desk. Okay. And she was going to Liberty University, and she was from upstate New York, Rochester. That's how, you know, that's where we filmed. I knew that area. Yeah. Where we filmed Hero of the Underworld. But yeah, I met her there, and I tell her all the time, I was praying literally for God to just lead me to the right woman. And I walked in one day, and it was like a light beam.
There she was.
I still remember the sweater. I always laugh when I was like, "Where's your sweater?" It's a white sweater she was wearing. It was just like, this is it. I was like, it was the craziest thing. But yeah, he picked her out. There's no doubt. She's tough. She's tough.
Oh yeah, she's got to be.
Oh yeah.
I could just picture her like an angel, you know, in her white sweater, and then just, you know, punching you with the Thai boxing.
Yeah. I have to tell you one day about the story about me. She wanted to fight, and don't ever train your wife to fight. That's all I got to say.
She's like, honey, take the garbage out. I mean it.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you guys have a great relationship, and with your kids too. I think you told me a funny story, not funny, about your foster son who talk about your TV, something that happened.
Oh yeah. Well, I wasn't there. I get a text on my phone, and my flat screen TV smashed. I'm like, who left him alone?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I mean, things like that you have to deal with, like, what must a child have been through to make them, do something like that or have those reactions? And, what's it like being a foster parent? Well, no, I guess they're adopted now.
Yeah.
Going back, so adoption and foster, like, tell us about that. Like, what has that experience been?
I mean, every child's different. And you get them at different ages. I had to put perimeters on later. My daughter's 10. So just being cautious at home, think about teenage, and my oldest son is 14. So I kind of wanted, him to be the oldest child in the house. Yeah. He still maintained that oldest son. So we didn't know, you don't know how long you may be fostering some of these children. And it can be a rough process. It's hard on them. They're coming into a situation where, they're young and they're not in their own home anymore. And they're coming in with strangers. And even the best scenario, that's always going to be something you have to overcome. It's unique. And every child, like I said, they could have all kinds of things that they've dealt with. Unfortunately, it's a fallen world, and sometimes you don't find out. In our situation, you'll get a call in the middle of the night, and you'll have a child the next morning, and even the social care, they don't exactly know what everything has happened, and it'll be revealed as you go along, and you just have to come in to do the best you can and protect them, as well as I had to protect my own children as well.
Yeah.
So. It's a tough, it can be tough, but it's, people that are willing to do it. To make an impact on a child's life to where I know what it felt like. I know what it felt like to have another family care about me, take me to Taekwondo, feed me, put a roof over my head, put clothes on my body. And I wasn't their kid, it meant a lot to me. So, but, it was a life-changing thing for me. So if I could do that for someone else, that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, what a blessing for your kids and for you and your wife. And I just thank you so much for being here with us today and for sharing all of his stories in your life. You have many. And this has been so much fun. It makes me, want to go out and do martial arts again.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, I just might.
I'm going to.
But yeah, thank you. And we're going to try and get Chris on here too, Chris Ashworth.
Yes, please.
We'll have him tell some stories about you.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Well, Jamie Ridgeway, thank you again so much for being here and for being a part of his story and everything that you do and how you give back. And just God bless you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, Jamie, thank you. Your story is incredible. The patience and what you've gone through, and you got me thinking I gotta get back into martial arts. I wish you had a satellite here in Ohio.
Yeah, do it. Maybe one day.
One day. All right. I'm committed to get back into it.
Cool.
Thank you.
Sounds great.
I heard it here. We're going to hold you accountable.
It's a pleasure meeting you.
Check back in and ask him if he's back into it. If not, you guys could do a Zoom. You could show him some moves.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. We can do that.
Yep.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Jamie. Have a great day and God bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, now you have to get back into martial arts.
Well,
or at least.
Yeah, the funny thing is, it's been on my heart for a while now, and I got to make it happen. I think he confirmed it. Not only is it good for exercise, but sharpens you mentally, sharpens you physically. And in this world we're in today, you never know what's going to happen just to be able to protect yourself and protect your family.
Yeah, absolutely. Be prepared, and there's those stories that he shared with us. I mean, how great to have that confidence and to know I can take care of myself, because you're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting. It's fun to talk with everyone and just hear all these different stories, and you just see how God is working in their lives and the lives of their families. So that's a pretty cool thing to be able to to do this every day. So thank you.
Absolutely. The foster care really got me, because that is such a needed, people need that. And as Jamie said, they're coming from who knows what circumstances. And to have a loving family that's Christ-centered, that can bring them in and try to get them to the level they need to be at. And then being a foster parent, the sacrifices you have to do for that, and not being your own child. It's amazing.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Amazing.
Blessings upon blessings for everyone involved in those situations, for the families, the parents, the children. And we need more people to step up and take care of God's children. Amen. So, yeah, what an encouragement.
Yep.
That was fun.
That was fun. Well, that wraps up another of his story. Until next time.